Hello everyone, this is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast, and this is my review of Gundala, an Indonesian superhero film from 2019 that was directed by Joko Anwar, unbelievably. The film is set in a Javanese city where corruption and income inequality dominate people's lives. Sancaka, a gifted young tinkerer, is the son of an impoverished factory worker struggling to make ends meet. Sancaka's father leads other workers in protests against low wages, leading to intense violence between the workers and riot police. A fateful turn of events leaves Sancaka wandering alone in the streets of Jakarta as a child. He eventually grows up and avoids helping others in need, but that will soon change as he discovers his lightning-fueled superpowers. So let me begin this review by pointing out something that I actually enjoyed in this movie. I like the dark tone of the movie early on. I think that you'll notice little kids are involved in all kinds of misery and suffering and violence in this movie. There's definitely a certain shock value to this film because of that element alone. Most Hollywood studios would not touch this content with a 10-foot pole, so I appreciated the ballsiness of the filmmakers here, at least early on. That was pretty cool. The opening 25 minutes are decent. Our protagonist's life is a living hell, and it is effectively realized on screen. Unfortunately, I'm sorry to say that Joko Anwar completely loses control of this movie. The script writing in this movie is atrocious. So let's take an example, okay? I'm going to try to avoid spoilers as much as possible, but I need to make this point because it is freaking obvious to me. There's a scene in a car early on with a married couple, comes out of nowhere. It's entirely contrived, and the situation ends in a few minutes before it could really be developed at all. Like, who are these people? Why are they discussing adoption of our protagonist kid within seconds of meeting him? Like, it makes no sense. Like, I kept thinking, like, am I missing something here? And I replayed the scene, and I kept saying, am I missing something here? It feels like I'm missing something. And that's how I feel when I'm watching the entire film. And if someone tells me that I need to read a comic book to find the answer, the movie failed pretty miserably, okay? Then, when our protagonist becomes an adult, listen to this. A bunch of new characters and world building is introduced when we're already 30 minutes into the film. All right? So there's multiple flashbacks related to the villain. It feels pretty rushed, okay? And then this villain completely disappears from the film almost entirely for like the next 30 to 40 minutes after he's introduced. We spend almost no time with this guy. That's a problem. That's not all though. Okay, listen to this. It just gets worse. So our protagonist, his entire life, ever since he was a kid and was forced to live on the streets, has been living with this motto: just keep to yourself, ignore other people's problems. Okay? Then, for no apparent reason, at the drop of a friggin' hat, he decides to help his next-door neighbor who's getting harassed by thugs. Now, we as viewers have spent no time with this woman at all, so why did he choose to help this particular woman? They don't even, and after that point, they don't even spend much time together alone. They have a few scenes here and there. The relationship is not developed at all. This is just bad script writing. And guess what? It gets worse. It gets worse. Listen to this. Eventually, every pregnant woman in the city, okay, they require some treatment. Okay, I'm going to try to avoid spoilers as much as possible. They require an antidote. Okay. Now, apparently, no one in the government decided to test this antidote before approving its distribution to every pregnant woman in the city. Now, you're about to inject every pregnant woman in the entire city with this antidote, and you never even bothered to test it before you approved its distribution. And of course, because the script writing is so bad, they decide to test the antidote while they're distributing it. Okay, kind of like a last second. So riddle me this, Batman. Why wouldn't you just wait one more day until after the tests come out and are completed? Because the tests come out as they're distributing it, like for the first time. Here's the answer. The filmmakers had to introduce a horribly contrived horribly written scenario to add some tension during the finale. And then, of course, after that, we get some gigantic coincidences and improbable situations that, connect random characters to our protagonist's family. I mean, the script of Gundala is just total freaking garbage. I have not seen a script this bad in a while. It's completely just unacceptable. I mean, this is the kind of dumpster juice you write when you just don't feel like putting any effort into it. I mean, Joko Anwar, what are you doing? He's credited as scriptwriter here. I mean, it's terrible. Like, how could he write this script? It actually scares me that Anwar made a theatrical film that is this badly written. Every time I've watched an Anwar film in the past, I've always had unwavering confidence, especially after seeing The Forbidden Door back in the day. I'm like, oh, this guy's good. Every time his movie came out, I'm like, this is going to be a good film. This is Joko Anwar. Yeah, I think he contributed to Half Worlds, right? And that was garbage, but that was a TV show. I'm talking theatrical films here. Unwavering confidence. After this movie, I'm going to have some trepidation going forward, man. I'm going to be a little nervous. But wait a minute, Erik, you might say. Wait. Don't you frequently just gloss over script writing problems for action movies? I mean, haven't you said previously that script writing and character development are two of the most overrated aspects of filmmaking? Yeah, that's true. But the problem is that the filmmakers of Gundala choose to dwell on the drama in the story. They choose to spend time setting up these conflicts and these dramatic themes. This isn't a 90-minute Hong Kong action flick from the 90s with tons of action in it, or the late 80s, 90s. This isn't Royal Warriors or In the Line of Duty 4. It wishes it was, okay? No, Gundala is a 2-hour film where most of the runtime consists of drama. So as a viewer, I have no choice but to focus on the script writing, and it sucks. So the question is this: is the action plentiful enough and good enough to save the movie? No, it isn't. Now, there is some good stuff in this movie. There's some good action here, okay? The fighting early on involving the kids, surprisingly well choreographed. I liked some of those scenes, okay? The lead actor, the adult version of him, okay, who gets introduced about a half hour into the film, he can move well. His strikes are convincing. He has a certain scrappiness and bulkiness to him. He's like pretty tall and lanky. He moves like an American football player who knows martial arts, which is a bit different from most martial arts actors out there. And I liked it. I like this guy. I'd like to see this guy in a more better action film. There are a few good fights here and there. There are. Unfortunately, okay, the second half, the fights in general are erratic. Okay, some of these fights end very abruptly for no reason. Now, one of them, okay, and it comes later in the film, one versus many fight, stops before it even gets going. I'm like, well, why are we doing this? Another one, and this is when you know the action is going to be a problem, when he fights the violinist. There's a violinist that he fights, and you're like, oh man, dude's fighting a violinist. This is going to be sweet. And it starts off pretty good, and just when it's starting to ramp up, it just ends. I'm like, dude, this scene was like 30 seconds long, man. Like, what is this? Now, at one point, and this is where the action really starts to suffer. At one point later in the movie, a bunch of assassins are recruited to fight our protagonist. And then as a viewer, I'm like, all right, this is its chance to win me over here. Okay, non-stop fights for the last 40 minutes. And even the last 40 minutes with all these assassins is kind of disappointing. We get a good fight near some train tracks, and there's an actor you'll recognize that shows up. I like that scene. The scene with the train tracks, that was a pretty cool fight. Then the big finale arrives. Okay. It does include some good fighting, but it is constantly cutting away to show pregnant women standing in line to get this antidote, or pharmaceutical trucks driving in the street. Our protagonist is fighting these assassins, but each fighting segment is only like 20 seconds long, 30 seconds long, because it has to cut away to watch a bunch of pregnant women and pharmaceutical trucks driving. It was so frustrating watching the sequence. Stop cutting away so much. You're killing the momentum of the action. In addition, and I don't know how many times I've seen this before in a movie, the continuity errors are just insane during this fight. Okay, you have all these assassins fighting this guy one at a time, of course, which is fine. I'm used to that. But let's say you have a dude with the knives starts fighting him. Okay, they fight a little bit, they pause for a second, gotta cut away and watch the pregnant women standing in line. The cut's back, knife dude disappears into thin air. I'm like, oh, wait, he was fighting the knife dude. Now he's fighting someone else. Where did the knife dude go? I'm like looking in the background of the scene. He's nowhere to be found. Just a new assassin our protagonist is fighting. And this happens multiple times during this final, finale scene. It happens to multiple assassins. Now, apparently, the knife dude just walked away during the fight, because we see him later on. But it's such an awkward way to edit a fight scene. It's just bad, man. It's bad. The way our protagonist defeats some of these guys at the end is just lame. It's just lazy. Really disappointing. It's almost as if this movie loses its balls during the last, half. It starts off with, this ballsy kind of violent, shock value film, and then by the end of the film, it's just like an MCU film without, good action or anything. It just, somewhere along the way, it lost its balls. And then finally, our protagonist uses his ultra superpower. His ultra superpower at the end of this movie. Just wait till you see it. Just wait until you see this ultra superpower. I'm just sitting there are you serious? So the very end of this movie just shamelessly sets up a sequel. These filmmakers have a lot of improvements. I mean, this is supposed to be the start of a cinematic universe. It's just unbelievable. I cannot believe that Joko Anwar made this movie. I cannot believe it. Are there 2 Joko Anwars in Indonesia? Because I don't believe he made this. I've seen 7 of his films, and Gundala is by far his worst. It's not even close. I gotta pray that he doesn't go back to this. I gotta pray. Or just be a producer on the other films. That's fine. Your next directorial, just go back to horror or something that you're, oh, man, this is just not good. It's available on Amazon streaming if you want to check it out, as well as physical media. There's no way I'm including this in my physical media collection. I can't believe this movie. I mean, what's going on? You have Nobuhiko Obayashi made a bad film. Now Joko Anwar made a crap film. Who's next? Hirokazu Koreeda? If Koreeda makes a crap film in the next year, we got problems, people. I mean, that's any case. I'll see you next time, man.